Stanley's Northeast. That is the bacon that is here at every social media breakfast. It's like the breakfast part of the social media breakfast. Thanks to Skelly Video Productions, Gabe Skelly, who handles our live streaming. We're very happy. Molecule Marketing, Molly, please stand up. Molly, who is like the behind-the-scenes silent partner here, who kicks butt for us on social media. Thank you for that. Also, thanks to Sterling Cross PR, thanks to Muddy Paws Cheesecake, the new, of course, who is hosting us here today, formerly known as 514 Studios and Make It MSP. So, I skipped too fast. We are streaming live. If you're here and want to watch the live stream, I don't know how that works. If you're at home and want to watch the live stream, you're already watching it, but you can watch for the link on our channels. And thanks again to Gabe for making all that happen. Who is here for the first time? All right, not bad, so a handful. I also have we're going to do some marketing research here today. How many people have been to Social Media Breakfast 10 or more times? All right, so I would say that's about 15%. You're capturing this, right, Molly? Yeah, 20 or more times? Oh, all right, thank you so much. Thank you for being a Social Media Breakfast lifer. We really appreciate that. Yeah, still streaming live. Nope, going the wrong direction. Here we go. All right, coming up next, put this on your calendar. This is going to be a good one, October 25th. And also note that it's going to be, well, I can't reach up there, but it's going to be at General Mills headquarters. So keep an eye out for that. Parking will be so much easier. And then by the time we get back here in November, maybe they'll finally have finished the curbs and everything, and you can street park again. But this is going to be a great conversation about how companies are using podcasts to reach, engage, and inform audiences. I'm reading the slide for no good reason, but Eric Hansen, who's been up here with us before, is going to be hosting a panel with Kevin Hunt, of course, the Director of Corporate Communications at General Mills, and folks from U.S. Bank and Hubbard Interactive. So we'll have the registration link out as soon as Michael gives it to us, and you can watch for that on our social channels. I am not mastering the clicker. All right. Today is a very important day. It is Google's 21st birthday. I can make all sorts of jokes about Google being, being legal to drink or something like that, but we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we're going to have everybody stand up and sing happy birthday to Google. So can we do that, please? All right, we can do that. One. Happy birthday to you. You're supposed to do that. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Google. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, everybody. All right. This is the land of 10,000 choirs, right, in Minnesota? So make that 10,001. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Of course, coffee is for closers and bacon is for marketing. We could give the Twins a big round of applause. Coffee is for closers, the champions of the American League Central and our neighbors just down the street. Of course, first prize, of course, do we know the Glenn Gray, Glenn Ross thing? Because I'm going to do a bit here. I apologize. First prize is Stanley's Northeast Bacon. Second prize has like a bunch of shredded carrots. And third prize is what? You're fired. That's right, exactly. Third prize is you're fired. Always be closing. This is Michael's most excellent Photoshop work here. Dave Meyer of BizzyWeb is our host here today. We appreciate him coming in. He's the owner of BizzyWeb here in the Twin Cities. They're having a birthday this year as well. It's their 20th anniversary. He's also been a speaker for Google, and now it is my distinct pleasure to stand aside and let Dave take over. Dave, thanks so much.
A hush falls over the crowd. This is where you make sure that your desktop is very clean for when it goes up on the screen. And it's good. And does my deck clicker work? That's the biggie. Oh, I saw it move. Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. And we're going to talk through a ton of stuff about how to take your business to the next level by closing the loop between sales and marketing. And so, how many folks in the room are representing B2B companies? Right? Perfect. About half? Okay, cool. And then for those of us who are you in marketing? Yes. Sales? 1. Perfect. 2, 3. Okay, so actually all of us are in sales. So you need to think about how you connect and engage with your folks in order to make sure that we close the deals that we're trying to launch. So I want to talk through a bunch of stuff today. This is intended as an interactive session, so go ahead and ask me questions if you have them. If it gets too far along, I don't want us to be here until noon. So if we have a lot of questions, maybe we'll hold them until the end, but let's try it. And if we have a lot of good questions during, by all means, fire away. All right, so is it going to work? I'm too far away from my little thingy. All right, so yeah, I'll just say slide. No. Okay, so this is what BizzyWeb is and who we are and what we do. We're based out of Champlin, Minnesota. We were formed in 1999, which is the same year as Office Space. Any Office Space fans? Perfect. We actually had a big celebration last week, and we all dressed up in Office Space characters. I was Lumbergh, and it was hilarious. We actually got a couple of beautiful printers and smashed the living hell out of them. And one of the printers was a four-color laser. And when I hit that sucker with the sledgehammer, it was like fairy dust everywhere. It was beautiful. I had to throw away the pants, but it was amazing. So we love what we do. We focus on inbound marketing for businesses, kind of in the $5 to $100 million range of companies. In the manufacturing business is where we focus most. So when I speak to you today, I'm speaking to you from the frame of here's what I know in helping my customers close deals with their customers. And so if we're looking at marketing and how marketing and sales work together, you really need to focus on how to connect and how to keep things going with that business. Maybe I'm just not clicking it far enough. I've got way too many clicks on this dang thing. So, there I am. As long as I stand right here and I lean over, I'm going to go through. So first we're going to talk through what is smarketing. Anybody heard of the term before? Perfect, good. It's better than mails, but sales plus marketing and how to put things together and make them work for your business, right? So, why is this so dumb? All right, we're going to go through how to integrate smarketing, how to speak the same language, implement service level agreements, and closed loop reporting, open communication, and then we'll talk through how to be successful as you implement a smarketing program for your business. All right, so, boy, as long as I stay over here, I hope you guys are cool with me being here. Yeah, 87% of the terms sales and marketing used to describe each other are negative. Right? So this is how we feel. I actually cut out the part of the slide where there were some F-bombs in there. But this is Glengarry Glen Ross fans, obviously a few of us, yeah. Kind of a depressing movie, honestly. Poor Jack Lemmon and what he needs to do throughout the course of that, getting those golden leads and the big ones and just wondering how on earth they're going to close and connect. This is what we struggle with. And it's always the other team's fault, right? It's not us, it's them. If the marketing team would just give me the leads, I would be delighted. And likewise, if the sales team would just pick up the damn phone with these leads, we'd probably be okay, right? So we actually had a great experience with one of our former clients now where we did some brilliant marketing for them and we turned them in and we were getting like 300 leads a month, where they asked us exactly what they wanted, and we built this out. And we got into the 6-month range with our program, on the annual program, and they said, I hate this program. It's not doing anything. I don't think we're going to continue on with you guys. I said, well, my goodness, what's wrong with the leads? They're all qualified, and they're exactly what you were looking for. Like, yeah, but we're not closing any of them. Like, well, what does that mean? Why aren't you closing them? And they were like, well, I don't know. I was like, well, what are you doing with them? Well, every lead that comes through the website, we send them a brochure. Brilliant sales, right? So unless you're actually willing to work the leads, you are not going to get anywhere in your marketing. I'm going to try switching this because this is going to bug the heck out of me. We might even try a better clicker.
I know this one worked from at least 15 feet away, so maybe that'll be...
Just put on your chin like that.
That works. Okay, so I'm just going to talk like this the entire time. All right, so what sales says is that leads suck, right? And they're too old. There's not enough information in what I'm getting from them, and they're usually not in the target market. Well, whose fault is that? Unless you tell your sales team, or unless the sales team tells you as a marketer what you need to deliver, how are you supposed to tweak that and bring it in? Marketing, other side. Well, your leads aren't being worked. Sales is lazy and incompetent. They're not doing what they need to do, right? I've heard the phrase sales people are coin operated, right? That's a common marketing term. And they just can't close our leads. It's not our fault. We brought them with our brilliant Google campaign. We brought them everyone from 18 to 96 inside of, 7 continents. But the big thing that we hear most is they just don't get it on both sides. So how do you bring that together? And that's the point of smarketing. You actually start working together. So we're all on the same team. What is that team? Team revenue. If you want to drive business, you need to think about how you can actually connect and engage with the people that matter most, both on the sales side and on the marketing side. 60% of the sales cycle now is over before the salesperson picks up the phone. And what does that look like? On average, somebody will, especially in B2B, will visit more than 100 links before they make a call, before they engage and connect. So if you're not looking at your sales process as starting with marketing and interacting with marketing, you're missing out on the opportunity. Let's see if it works from out here. Just switching the port is a big pro speaker tip, okay? All right, so sales plus marketing is smarketing. This is what we do, and this is what all of us really need to do as we're moving forward in the B2B world. So, as we look at this, here's 4 steps to integrate smarketing into your business. I'm going to get a little technical and a little, verbose, but, back me up if you want me to talk about what any of these crazy things mean. So first, speak the same language. We're going to talk through in depth on what you need to know in order to talk about KPIs and ROIs and EIIs. So, implement service level agreements. Agree with each other what you're going to deliver and hold each other accountable. Closed loop reporting. How to connect and engage and make sure that everyone is operating from the same sheet. And I've got a couple of tools that I'll refer you to that you can use in order to make sure that that loop stays closed. And then, of course, open communication. We can't improve what we don't know. And so keeping that together and keeping people excited about what you do is one of the best ways to make sure that smarketing and that your sales operation is working as intended. If you want, as a marketer, to get access to more budget, merging with the sales team is a very good way to do that, because there's always room for sales in budget. But marketing is one of the first things that tends to get cut with people that don't get the power of enforcing and driving more leads. So, how do we speak the same language? First, you need to have a core set of communication. And so, in the olden days, and I'll talk a little bit about what I mean with the funnel being kind of an old term in a minute, but in the olden days, marketing just had to worry about the top of the funnel. And so we're just going to dump a bunch of stuff in, and sales is magically going to figure out what we need out of that, and it's not our problem after they get through those first top bars. And then once it gets down to the bottom, sales needs to handle it, and then maybe there's a little bit of squish in the middle where people can connect up. It's like, okay, well then we're maybe talking to each other, we're getting that pile of pink leads, and that's where the handoff happens, right? So, okay, but there's a whole lot more to that. And as you move through this list, you're going from prospects to leads to MQLs, SQLs, opportunities, and then customers. Each of those have a distinct need inside of what the customer is looking for and inside of what we need to deliver to them. So prospects and visitors is anyone that happens across your website, your marketing, everybody that opens an email, finds anything, right? As soon as they actually interact with you, they're a lead. Right? So as soon as they click something, open something. MQLs, any brave folks, what's an MQL stand for? marketing qualified lead. We think, as marketers, that this is something that you salesperson can pick up on. When does it move to an SQL? What is an SQL? Sales qualified lead, right? That's when sales picks it up and said, yeah, I'm actually going to call that person, right? And there is some drop off between those because as marketers, all we can do is open up the door for people to walk through. And sometimes people that we don't want in are going to wander through that door. So sales gets to make that decision as to what an SQL is. And it's our job to start referring back up and saying, yes, these MQLs that you're giving us don't match what we need. And so only 10% of these are SQLs. You need to start altering your marketing and bringing it back up. Opportunities is as soon as the sale is initiated or as soon as the conversations start, right? So in your CRM, you're opening up a new opportunity every time you open a conversation. If you have a prospecting call, if you have a connection, that's when it turns into an opportunity. And we all know what happens when it turns into a customer. We all get our big bonuses, right? I wish. So, top of the funnel is marketing, middle of the funnel, shared, bottom of the funnel is sales. That's the old way, though. So, what does this look like for us in real world? So, what is a marketing qualified lead for us? Well, you need to go down between is it a good or bad fit and is the customer interested or not, right? So as we move from low fit to low interest, of course we want to avoid those folks. Those are never going to become SQLs. So once we move up, our job is, to start nurturing interest if they don't have a lot of interest but they're a really good fit. So we want to try and move them over to the right? And so if it's high interest but bad fit, sure, take the order if it makes sense, but don't spend a ton of sales time on it. You don't need that extra business. And then if it's a great fit, you want to follow up immediately. If it's high interest, follow up immediately. And the best kind of marketing qualified lead is a great fit lead with high interest. So these are the folks that we're trying to reach, and this is what our conversation needs to focus around when we're connecting with our sales team and making sure that we're having our conversations with sales. Here's some examples of MQLs. So Contact downloaded an ebook on growth-driven design. The company has 75 employees, and they're in the Twin Cities. That's an MQL for us, right? And, whoops. Boy, now it works better. Contacted a company whose role is VP or director and is a decision maker. Lundberg, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to need to take an order from you today, right? So these are the kind of people that we know and that we want to drive. So in the new funnel, we're really figuring this as half and half. The top half is owned by marketing, so we're more responsible, more than halfway through. And then the second half is owned by sales. But more importantly than that, you actually need to be pushing and saying, okay, well, SQLs aren't quite fitting in what we're looking for, and so I need more detail here. Or our MQLs and our leads are coming up, and marketing is telling our sales team, here's what you need to know about what we're shooting down the funnel. And here's some tools in order to help that person convert better. So giving them email scripts, giving them sell sheets or just follow-up scripts in order to help your sales team continue to close. There are automations that you can do inside of marketing when people visit the website and they give you something. So then when they become a lead, they give you an email address, right? And in inbound marketing and traditional inbound, you provide something of value and they trade a little bit of information for that, usually just their email address. But then based on what people do from there, you can start farming out more and more helpful information based on their interests. So it's like ABs and it's decision trees. So if person A clicked on lead or interest A, if they're in a certain market or if they respond to something that is or isn't interesting to them, if they respond in the affirmative to something right away, you're going to give them more of what they asked for. If they ignored or they didn't open an email, you're going to back them up and give them something a little bit more general perhaps, or something ancillary to that deal. And then based on what they do, if you've got a CRM that's working and that's collecting all of this data, you know what that person wants before they ever get a call. And you don't want to be creepy about it and say, I see that you were on our website for 78 minutes yesterday. What do you think? but you want to give them information that's going to match what they're telling you online. And so the top half of that is a lot deeper now than it ever was before, because we're giving more data because we know more about people that are visiting us. And so this is my quick aside. I talked about funnels for a few slides here. The funnel is pretty much dead. It's only one part of the engagement process. Used to be marketing would dump stuff into sales, and then sales would dump out customers, right? What happens when you dump water into a funnel? Shoots out the bottom, and then, like Kaiser Soze, it's gone, right? So you don't want to think of your customers as an end product that you can ignore after that. You want to continually re-engage and reconvert the people that are visiting you and that already know you and that already love you. It's 10 times easier to close an existing sale again than it is to find a new customer. The funnel really only feeds the attract section of the flywheel. And from there you want to engage and delight more people and to encourage them to bring more business into you as well. This is where reviews come in, this is where word of mouth happens, and this is where additional sales happen as well. So I have an entire hour-long talk that I give on flywheels, but this is a really important thing, that the sale is never done in marketing now. All right, so let's talk about how to implement service level agreements. Sexy stuff, right? So SLAs they define what each team commits to in order to support what they need for their revenue goals. And there's some math that's involved in this, so I'm going to get a little bit heavy on this stuff, but there's easy ways to commit to giving your team the data and the information that they need. So SLAs go both ways. From marketing to sales, you're looking at the number or quality of leads to hit the goals. So a dashboard might look like this. For sales to marketing, well, speed and depth of lead follow-up. How quickly are they going to respond? On average, you should be connecting within the first 5 minutes in order to get the most engagement inside of your engagement process. If you wait for a day or 2 days, that lead goes cold. People forget what they were even looking at. Yes, question? So as soon as they say contact me, so there's a lot of back and forth. You absolutely don't want to pick up the phone as soon as somebody clicks on the website and say, hey, I see you're on my website, right? So that's not cool. But as soon as they say contact me, if they fill out that form, that's a hot connection. So you want to make sure that you do connect with them. And so making sure that your sales team has that data and that they're engaging as quickly as possible is really important. So marketing SLAs, how many leads of a given quantity or quality does a sales rep need to make quota? And there's a couple of ways that you can figure that out. The revenue divided by average revenue per customer, not really all that complicated, right? That's the number of customers you need. And the customers divided by the average lead to customer close rate. And you need to have a little bit of data in order to get this, but you're looking for how much money do I need, how many customers do I need to make that money, and how much marketing do I need to do in order to get that many leads, knowing that my team's going to be able to close that much, right? For sales, how many contact attempts should sales make with every lead and how quickly? That looks like with X leads and Y hours per month, how many follow-ups should a sales rep be able to complete? So only have so many hours in a day. My sales team knows if they need more than 80 hours in a week, I'll make something for them. But that's important to be able to figure out how many calls can I guess that my team's going to be able to make, and what's that commitment level? So are they going to be able to connect within, ideally, let's make it real world, within an hour, right? And how many follow-ups do you need to make? How many follow-ups does it on average take to actually convert a close? 7, right? Seen more like sometimes 14 or 15. But if you get actual connections, or if somebody says no, then of course you want to step back. But if it's a Minnesota nice no, like, oh, well, I'm not quite ready yet, or we'll talk to you in January, that kind of stuff, go ahead and keep connecting, but don't just hit them over and over again with the same thing. And that's where marketing's data comes in, where we can give them more and helpful and interesting information instead of just saying, I was just following up on that lead and saw that you might have been interested. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking to be helpful. So, example SLAs. Marketing will deliver 100 MQLs to each sales rep a month. Sales will attempt to engage within 4 business hours. I'm even happier here in 5 attempts in 2 weeks. Let's see how that works, right? So is that enough? So I called back 16 times with no answer. Well, he's probably being a little aggressive. So here's an example of what a spreadsheet might look like. And if you're interested in this, I've got my contact information at the bottom of most of these slides. Just shoot me an email. I'll give you this entire deck. But if you work backwards from the amount of customers that you need from the revenue, so my shared revenue goal is 100,000, average deal size is 1,000, 100 customers is what I need. If, and this is pretty aggressive, if my conversion rate between stages is 50%, this is what my numbers are going to look like. For 100 customers, I need 200 opportunities, 400, 800, 1,600, 3,200 visits a month. Pretty easy math. We all know that the math isn't really that simple. So here's a simpler formula on how to manage this out. The total sales revenue that you're looking for times the percentage of revenue from marketing qualified leads equals your marketing revenue goal, right? The marketing revenue goal divided by the average deal size will give you how many customers you need. And then the customers you need divided by your lead to close rate is the total amount of leads that you need to deliver. So as you move through that, make sure that you're thinking about, okay, not only how many leads do I need, but does the sales team have the tools that they need to actually make that connection? So, in order to keep this all in the loop, in order to make Smarketing work for you, you need to reconnect your lines of communication. So in order to close the loop on reporting, you need to have a CRM. Here's everything that a CRM should be able to do for you. It's connect up, it's giving everyone the same data and the same information. You should know how many people are clicking on each thing. I haven't mentioned the name of the company that I use for most of my stuff, but HubSpot is really, really good, and the CRM is free. So if you're looking for a CRM in your business, you can install this CRM and start working with a bunch of things right away. And you can actually send some emails for free, and you can even run some advertising for free through that tool now. They just announced that. So benefits for marketing of having closed loop reporting, up-to-date contact and status updates. You know what's happening immediately, and then you know which marketing programs are and are not working. So if you get 2% conversion rate on a specific marketing program, that's probably telling you something about what's happening. If nobody's opening that email, or if nobody's clicking on that link or responding to that ad, or if you're getting a big conversion rate, if lots of people are clicking on a link, but then none of those people turn into SQLs, into sales qualified leads, then you need to adjust. Sales, it lets you prioritize your leads. I know that this person has visited my website a certain amount of times. In pro versions of HubSpot, you can see lead scoring. So it'll tell you, everything over 60, we make sure to contact as soon as it gets to that level, right? And that's when somebody visits our website a certain amount of times, opens an email, or fills out a form and says, I want to be contacted, right? That's that within 5 minutes thing. Lets you make warmer calls because you can see what people are doing. And sales needs to be trained a little bit on how this works, right? You don't want to get too creepy right away and say, yes, I noticed that you were on our page for 37 minutes and looking at this thing. You hovered it about 3/4 of the way down the page, and that's right where we're talking about whatever, right? So you don't want to do that, but that helps you ask the right questions to get people involved and engaged. Working from a single system lets you know which sources are producing the most customers. It helps you to understand the interactions that turn leads into customers. What is it that's helping you actually connect and engage those folks? It helps you engage faster with sales so that you have better conversations. Sales is no longer the prototypical car salesman that's going in and trying to push stats down somebody's throat. A good sales opportunity, especially in B2B, is more like a helpful conversation or like an engagement than ever before. You're not just saying, yep, you need that sale, and you're going into them, you're saying, well, tell me more about how this works. We're almost therapists for our business clients. Send immediate updates to sales when leads revisit your website, open an email or a proposal, or take other key actions. You want to keep in front of people immediately and give them what they're looking for right then. So, that's your connections. Now we're going to go through open communication. So how do you keep that interaction engaged throughout the process? Because again, we have two teams that both tend to think the other suck. So how do you keep that communication open? Well, your weekly meetings, you want to get your entire sales and marketing teams together. And this might be a high level, and this works, if you have a huge sales team, this might be a little tougher to do, and so maybe you're going to have your team leads or have sales shadowing or other things. But you want to get together about team successes. What sales did we close? As you move things through in HubSpot, there are deals throughout, and we actually get together weekly at BizzyWeb, and we physically move our leads through the process via a visual format. We have product information that you can connect up on. Here's some new things that our tool can do. Here's some new things that we're selling. Here's new sell sheets or questions that our clients are asking. And then education on personas. You're looking for performance against SLAs. And that helps you because you want to avoid this kind of stuff, right? So things are getting pretty serious if they said to call back in 6 months. So, monthly meetings. You're going to have that with your key management. This is where you're going to have bigger conversations about deeper things inside of your business. So you're going to talk about the overall strategy, who we're trying to reach, who we're trying to connect with, and what the key SLAs inside of that are. Resolve any issues, not doing something that we're supposed to be doing. The sales team is having trouble on this particular product or with this particular stage. The leads that we're getting in this particular thing aren't working the way we intended, and adjusting tactics and SLA based on data. We know what we can get, and so you need to manage through, and just because you have people skills doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get what you need out of this, right? So, again, how to integrate marketing. You all want to speak the same language. You want to implement service level agreements, connect up and engage and ask the right questions and make sure that you're committed to doing what you need to. Have closed loop reporting, and then of course open communication. So this is where things get fun, because what you do inside of this is what takes you to that next level. Once you agree that you're going to work together as sales and marketing, that's when you can start learning from each other and getting the next steps entitled to bridge the gap between what we know that we're doing in marketing and what sales is getting from the trenches. So you're getting a lot of frequently asked questions if you're in sales. And a lot of times if you're in marketing, you're getting a lot of that from the top end, right? So building those into engagements or even into chatbots, for example. Building some of that stuff up to make your website your first salesperson so that you're asking and answering the questions that you can guide people through in order to get them to that next level. So here's some keys to success inside of marketing. First, does anybody get the reference here? Coffee and bacon. I searched for a long time for that one. All right. So your keys for success inside of marketing, first, to be more revenue focused. We like to think of ourselves as these brilliant folks that are generating leads nonstop, but activity doesn't mean leads, or it means leads, not clicks. If I'm getting all kinds of traffic, but it's all the wrong traffic, well, that doesn't help. Remember the old days when we would sign up on Facebook and we got a company page and we would spend money on a page like campaign? It's like, oh, we got 13,000 likes on our page. Give me a raise, boss. Like, yeah, they're all from, who knows where. So that doesn't help us. So instead, develop and nurture leads. Attend sales demos. Shocking, right? Figure out and attend the training that your sales teams are going through with them. Make sure that they're connecting. You're responsible for providing marketing qualified leads to the sales team that are actually worth turning into SQLs. And so you want to provide purposeful and, yes, automated follow-up. You need to think about the scripts and about the paths that your customers are going to take in order to get to that all-important close. What are the calls to action that are going to convert best? What are the next steps that you can identify, and what are the conversion ratios inside of that? This all seems really tough until you start thinking about getting a system that can measure and track some of that stuff. Everything that I'm talking about right now is tough if you try to do it by hand, pretty easy if you use a tool like HubSpot. And HubSpot certainly isn't the only tool in there. I happen to think it's the easiest one, and it's hard to combat just free for getting onto the CRM, right? For sales, you want to align with the buyer. If you're just out there and trying to force your product down your customers' throats, you're not making the connection that sales has really turned into. People are researching more than 100 links before they ever call you or before you have that conversation. They probably know more than you do in some cases about certainly your competition, but also about what your business is and what it's going to do for them. Starting to take that knowledge and take that information, take the analytics that you're getting off of your website and seeing, okay, well, what are people really interested in? And what's that true path that they're taking in order to grow with us in trust? For B2B especially, it's a considered purchase. It's not like B2B or B2C where you can just go and buy and click and be happy and get it same day if you're at Amazon. Right? It's much more that you need to trust and you need to connect and you need to have this feel like a conversation. And so as you align with the buyer, you want to provide input to marketing on content. I was hearing that there's a lot of confusion in this particular product about this thing, or they glaze over when I have this conversation and we start talking about these stats. They don't seem to care. What they really want to know is, does it solve their problem? And so we need to focus more on our personas for that customer and know more about what makes them tick. Sharing feedback and ideas from prospects, committing to working those SQLs. If you're getting a lot of MQLs and they're not turning into SQLs, well, that's probably that either your sales team isn't bought in and you need to make more effort into engaging with the sales team, or it's that the sales team just needs more training or more ideas on how to just ask questions. Sales, it's the big adage with marketing versus sales is people love to buy online, but no one likes to be sold, right? And the process of selling is more having consensus and conversation with your customers than ever before, because you're eliciting the feedback from your customer that's going to say, okay, this is what really matters to me, and then you make that connection. You're going to provide feedback and work the system and use the tools. Again, the goal is revenue. So that's what you want to focus on with your teams. Any questions so far? I'm about a quarter of the way through my presentation. I'm kidding. Yes, Tom. Sure, I can repeat it back to you.
So, going back to what you were saying earlier about the metrics and measurement, and then your story earlier about the former client that was sending out brochures to you. Mm-hmm. This all makes sense if you're talking about an internal marketing, internal sales team, but how do you as an agency person or me as a consultant, where we don't have necessarily that direct, sitting in the office together kind of relationship, right. How do we make all of this happen?
So question is, you were in it? Okay. So everybody else catch it? The question? Great. So as consultants or as people that are a little bit more outward facing that might not have the benefit of a large sales team and a large marketing team to have powwows and to hold hands and stuff together, how do we make that connection, right? So the key is having some sort of a meeting with the people that matter. And so, as a one-on-one consultant, that's a little bit interesting because, you almost need to check in with yourself and say, okay, well, when I'm in sales mode, this is what I'm doing. When I'm in marketing mode, this is what I'm doing. And you need to keep reminding yourself, oh yeah, I need to actually look at the other half of the conversion ratio. For me, inside of my team, we have, regular small meetings. We have 2 folks on our sales team and 6 folks on our marketing team internally. And so we just have regular check-ins. A lot of times you need to have at least 1 meeting a week, and that common meeting for us, and probably is a good start, is just how's the sales going? So the actual, here's where things are moving through deal stages, and having that conversation, then having the marketing team ask as many questions as possible about, okay, well that deal stalled out, or that deal closed lost, and so what happened? Where did they gloss over? And you need to train your sales team to think about that and ask that question. If you're in the trenches and you're making calls, first you shouldn't be cold calling anymore anyway. It's really tough to make business in cold calling. But if you're engaging and if you're doing the inbound stuff and it's all coming down and people already kind of know about what you're doing, you're getting some insight as people are connecting. And so making sure that you're looking at that data and connecting that. Does that help? Sweet. Other questions? Yes?
Yeah, Dave, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have any thoughts about how to get something like this started if you have a particularly toxic culture between sales and marketing? I think we've all been there, right?
Yes. First thing to do if you have a toxic culture is check out monster.com or something like that. Really, if you truly have that culture where the one doesn't trust the other, I would, as marketers, because I'm assuming most of us are marketers in this room first and foremost, start shadowing. So get in the trenches, follow your sales team, sit in on some calls, sit in on some connections, and just find out what's happening. And that puts you as an ally for them. And by the way, you don't want to go in and just say, oh yeah, well I'm marketing and I'm here to see where you're fucking up, right?
They're going to think that anyway, aren't they?
Right. So stepping that back and say, okay, well, we're trying to work on being more useful in getting you the leads that you want. And I'm hearing that you're working really hard, so I want to make sure that everything that you're doing is going to pay off, right? So give them the benefit. And then back into it from there. So shadowing is a good way to do that. Top down can help, making sure that your incentives are aligned. So one of the things that tends to happen in sales is that we always focus on that next sale because that's where our commission comes from. But maybe giving more focus on re-engaging existing customers, or how many SQLs are picked up from MQLs, and seeing that. So actually adjusting your compensation structure toward that. I don't know, you just got to work it, and you kind of have to just get in the same room and talk through it. It's like, I know you think we suck. Frankly, you're not too hot either from my perspective, but we're all on team revenue, and I want to make more money because that keeps me in my job. So that's how I would approach it. Awesome.
Other questions? I can run around with the mic.
Otherwise, I'm going to go into my big long soliloquy at the end here. Perfect. All right. So I do have a couple more things to engage. I saw this, and I'm curious as to how this works. From the back of the room, does this work with the phone if you just hold it up? Because, iPhones and Androids now, if you just hold it up, it goes. If you want an inbound campaign checklist on how to set up marketing for this, back of the room says that it's working. You can just hold up your phone and that goes. It's a little bit of a subliminal thing. I don't know if you can tell, but that's actually our logo in a QR code. I can give you the link to that QR code generator that puts something interesting in it. It's a little bit better on the next one, but if you go to bit.ly BZY inbound, you can actually get the inbound checklist to actually start making the right connections for your business. And then one more thing, we've got a captive audience, and you guys are all awesome. So if you know of someone that's looking for a digital marketing coordinator position, we would love to hire that person. We need somebody that's a whiz at analytics and that knows what they're doing. So bit.ly.bzdata will get you there, and would love to chat with you about that. So in general, as we close out, here's my info, and if you send me an email, I will send you the slide deck on this, as well as a couple more things to help you with this process. But boy, my head is huge. If you're looking for ways to get your sales and marketing teams to work together. We're probably mostly marketers. If you're just trying to get sales to get it, give them better leads. You give them better leads by listening to your sales team and figuring out who are the best people for my sales team to close. And sometimes that's introspective, where you need to figure out more of your marketing or sales personas. Who is our best customer and what makes them tick? But we all know that. So the one thing that seems to be lost in the conversation is the interactions that actually have on a day-to-day basis with the sales team. You've got a huge untapped group of people that their very living is reliant on getting those deals closed. They should be willing to give you as much data as they can. So sit down with them and ask them the questions. It's like, what are our people interested in? And then work on giving them the content that those customers, those prospects are asking for. It's like they really don't get this part of our sales process. They really don't get this thing that we do. Or it seems like when they come to us, they're just completely wrong. And so how do you refocus and re-engage that group? You ask them the questions to get into their heads. And just like we do with sales personas and marketing personas, we need to build personas for how our sales team works. So getting the questions in that, how does my sales team work? How do my people really engage? How do they tick? Do they want just a fact sheet? Would they be happy in giving out videos? Should I connect and give them, new groovy technology? Would they be happier working off of a tablet or in screen? Are they completely, useless, and so I just need to give them an iPad with a video and have them press play and hand it to the prospect? Probably don't do that. But there's all kinds of things that you can do to help them along the path. But it all starts with partnership. So hopefully this was helpful. You can ask me any questions you want about anything because we got a little bit of time, but this was hopefully informational and helpful to you, and I hope this helped you a little bit to generate buzz without getting stung. Thank you.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. And like he said, he'll be around to answer some questions and that sort of thing. As a reminder, just keep your calendars marked for October 25th. And remember to go to General Mills HQ. And yes, there's a question I see. Is this before we head out of here? Yeah.
So you're using HubSpot a lot. Sounds really great.
Sure.
But when you flip over to like the B2C side, do you find it just as effective?
So it really depends. And the question was, HubSpot works fine in B2B, how about B2C? If you have a considered purchase, inbound marketing is a very good option. So if there's a lot of questions, if there's a lot of things, certainly you don't want to spend lots of time on data and sell sheets and white papers and videos if you're trying to sell Subway sandwiches, right? But if, like for jewelers, could be an incredibly helpful thing, or for dentists. One of our biggest new markets right now is actually the senior living facilities, because there's never been a bigger, higher trust need than if you're trying to figure out where mom and dad are going to go and how you're going to help them with their next phase, right? So B2C can be helpful or can be useful in inbound. And we're gold partners with HubSpot. There's a lot of tools that you can use inside of that, and it's really interesting and helpful, but you kind of got to go by your gut. And if it's a transaction that you're looking for, if it's a sale, then maybe not. But if you're trying to build trust and build a long-term relationship, then you're probably tipping back into that considered purchase realm, right? So that's my kind of top-level guidance on that.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'll walk over.
All right, so how do you...
You're on. I can hear you.
How do you talk someone into understanding this as a small business and they really have never been a marketer or a salesperson? What's the best way to help them kind of grasp this in a short period of time?
For sure. So, and how small? How small?
Maybe a $2 to $5 million company.
Okay, so $2 to $5 million company, they've always done it the way they've always done it, and it's like, you know what, we've got this far, so we're going to keep going. The best way to get people engaged on marketing and or the higher touch marketing is that you really have to start looking at the quality of the leads that you're getting and how much time is sales spending just banging their head up against a wall. And so if you've got a 10% close ratio, having a great inbound strategy that can warm up those leads significantly could be at least the equivalent of hiring another salesperson, right? So if you're looking for budget to do this, it's like, okay, well, what would it be to hire another salesperson? Including all that compensation and all of the commission and all that, figure six figures. How about I cut you a deal and let's just budget 10 grand a month to do this. And then if it doesn't work, we can decide something else, right? But if you look at it as what are you spending, and certainly how much are you wasting by hiring somebody to go out and knock on doors and waste their time 90% of the time? That's the difference, yes. Great question, thank you.
Anybody else?
I love zingers.
Okay, so this is maybe a little bit further off topic than what we've talked about this morning, but something that I get asked a lot by the higher ups in the company is kind of what's the perfect marketing mix? We're spending on Google Ads with search and shopping and display, and then we've got social, and then we've got these other channels. There's always what's the perfect mix? If you had $1, where would you spend it? And I always kind of say it's this combo, and they all complement each other. But I don't know if maybe you had something that you've seen as more of a best practice.
Yes. My best practice is to give 100% of your money to me, and then we'll work it out later. The non-flip answer is that it really, if you want to figure out the perfect marketing mix for your business and for your industry, you have to test. And so doing A/B tests on different kinds of marketing, a lot of times we're finding that it's counterintuitive for us. For a B2B business, we've actually had more traction with small Facebook campaigns than we did on LinkedIn. And so bringing that in and doing small tests and figuring out, okay, well, how can we come at things in unexpected ways or just kind of broadcast across and get a baseline for what is working and then what isn't working. Probably focusing more on what is working, but being prepared to be pleasantly surprised. You'll probably find a few diamonds in the rough of what you're doing. And there is really no set mix. I'd say, a good chunk of your time and your effort needs to be focused in creating content that can be repurposed. Make sure that you're as smart as possible with that content and that you are repurposing it. So every blog post should have an accompanying, little video that's probably a pre-teaser that goes in, and then maybe cut that into a podcast. I don't think podcasts are for everybody, but certainly if you have a market that has drive time, that can be very helpful. And honestly, it's just kind of sexy right now. Everybody's like, oh, you have a podcast? Cool. But, it's very dependent on who you are and what you do. It's really, really dependent on who your personas are. Because if you find out, one of our personas is Marketing Mary. Marketing Mary is the head of marketing for her group, for her company. But she was just in charge of admin, and she was awesome. And so they were like, okay, we'll do this thing too, because we don't get it. So, just go ahead and do some of that Google shit, right? And so, she wound up doing that, but then she doesn't know what she doesn't know, and so she's asking the questions. And so one of our strategies is to be as useful and as informative as possible in a very non-threatening kind of find your own way kind of experience. So we have more than 300 webinars out on our website, and they're all organized so you can just search, okay, well, I want to know how to do Facebook, or I want to know how to do sales conversion, whatever, right? So you have to go with what works for you, but it very much comes down to testing. And you'll probably get a lot of data off of just looking at what your Google Analytics or what your Hotjar info is telling you on, okay, well, how many people are going to our homepage, or certainly when somebody responds to an ad campaign or clicks on a piece of content, where do they go from there? Because that where do they go from there is giving you that next step on what they're expecting that they're not getting. So if you go straight to that second spot and make that the first spot, that could be another big lift. So I know I'm getting a little bit in the weeds, but test like crazy and do more of what works. But if your CEO is just super hot on blogging and says, we need to blog, we need to blog, we need to blog, and you've never gotten a lead from blogging, you can't make something that doesn't work magically work by trying harder. So go with what's working. So if you're getting more out of those 30-second videos that you're doing on your website, do more of that. But do more of what works, do less of what doesn't, go further down the list and find some diamonds, and there you go. And automate the hell out of it. Yeah. Great questions.
Anybody else? All right, thanks once again, Dave.
Thanks
Appreciate
again,
it.
Patrick.
All right. So Dave was right. Podcasting is sexy. Timely enough, you can put that on your calendar for next month. And we really appreciate everybody who, of course, came out today. We appreciate Dave, of course, for presenting. Molly and Gabe, thanks for your help. Ron, who's our sound guy. Our volunteers, who I forgot to thank in the opening. Thank you to Audrey and Kate. And that is it. Thank you so much. See you in a month.
There's still bacon.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Follow Skelly V Production on Facebook, and we'll be posting these later today on YouTube, so you guys can watch it there, as well as on the Social Media Breakfast site. So next month, podcasting, Social Media Breakfast, and hope to see you guys there. Happy Friday, everybody.